got a special guest today in the house with us. We got Tyrone, Garner, Mayor of Kansas City, Wyandotte County, I should say.
Appreciate you being here with us. Go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Tyrone Garner. I'm the mayor of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, unified government. And I came in office December 13th of 2021. So here we are in August. Glad to be here. A little bit of background about myself. I graduated from Wyandotte High School. Most of my time in service has been with the Kansas Police Department. A lot of people here remember me as that. I rose through the ranks and retired as a deputy chief in 2019. Before retirement, I worked as a board member on the Board of Trustees with the Kansas Community College. I was on the board of the Ad Hoc Group Against Crime. The governor appointed me to be the 3rd District Commissioner for the Kansas African American Affairs Commission, which was Johnson and Wyandotte and Miami counties, and that was a lot of community organizing. And then when I retired, I went to work for the Housing Authority of Kansas City, Missouri, where I was their public safety director. Really worked hard to turn that program around and really make it a more robust protective service for the Housing Authority over there in Kansas City, Missouri. And some folks asked me to run in the community. They thought that Wyandotte County needed to go in a different direction. I ran on being a change agent. I sent that message that was given to me by the community, and I often talk about community driven. And so the platform I ran on wasn't a platform that I created or came up with. It's really just me talking to everyday folks and them telling me these are the things that we want from our mayor and our unified government. And so I created a platform from that, and 7 points. And so here I am as the mayor. And so I'm really honored to be here and really thankful of the people of Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County, and Bonner Springs and Edwardsville for entrusting me with this leadership position. And we're working hard just trying to be and implement the change. But I tell people all the time I'm one person, especially in this weak mayor form of government. It's not that so much my team or that I'm weak. It's just when you talk about the form of government that's been placed upon us after consolidation, the form of government in unification calls for a weak mayor. So unlike New York, Atlanta, Chicago, LA, where the mayor has unprecedented powers to hire, fire, demote, promote, or say fix this pothole, on a weak mayor form of government like it is here, I just don't have that ability, that authority. And so a lot of relationship building, collaboration, leveraging, cooperation with our commission, who ultimately vote and make the decisions, because I don't vote on anything unless there's a tie or we don't have a quorum. Then I would vote to break the tie or be that member to provide a quorum. And then if there's something there, which I did Monday before last with revenue neutral, which called for a tax increase on our residents. That passed with our commission, but I vetoed it, and ultimately it was overridden. So those are the types of ongoing things that I'm going to continue to fight for and push with our team here. And you see 2 of our team members here today, J.D. Rios, who's a lot of people know him in Kansas City, Kansas. Glad to have him on board. He's a liaison. He's my education liaison. And then Lavert Murray, who is the economic development advisor for our office. And so we're just glad to be here, and we're committed to Wyandotte County. We're committed to bringing about the change that the people that voted for me said they wanted, that they deserve, and we're going to keep moving this initiative forward. And so, but like I started saying, I can't do it alone. It's not what I can do, it's really what we can do together as a community. The communities are going to have to really step up now that you have me in this position, and really provide the support we need to their leadership team to move their vision for what they want Wyandotte County to look like, because it's really going to take all of us when you talk about really challenging a long-standing establishment that really has been in control of the direction of Wyandotte County. When you talk about a lot of decisions being made for this community, but not with this community, and those are the types of things that we want to change. And so we're honored, we're resilient, and we're poised, and we're going to keep moving that agenda that the community asked me to run. So thank you for having me.
No problem.
Hey, appreciate you for doing this and sitting down with us. It's an honor to be here.
Yes.
So once again, we appreciate it. you kind of already
Touched
went
on a
over,
couple
touched
of
on
the
a couple of
subjects.
things.
A lot of them.
I had on here, you know,
Okay.
after 3 decades of being, you know, with KCPD, what, you know, inspired you to get into politics for one, and then run for mayor? You think you touched on that too. So, one thing I do want to bring up, I see that you was born in Portland,
Portland, Maine, yeah,
Maine. You moved to San Jose, California.
right,
You moved here your freshman year, right before your freshman year, to go to Wyandotte.
yes.
How was the adjustment from being in California to coming to Kansas City, Wyandotte County at that?
Well, coming here in the mid '80s, my dad worked for General Motors, so he moved our family out here when the plant out there in the Bay Area closed, because where I grew up was in San Jose, California. It's a little different because California, at least that part, was a lot more fast-paced than Kansas City at that time. So things were a little more, were a lot slower here. Not in a bad way. It's just out in California, in that area, it was just the hustle and bustle of everyday business. Here, when you move to Wyandotte County, for us, it was a lot more family-oriented. A lot of people went to church on every corner. I had never seen anything like that. So when you talk about the Bible Belt, so there were a few things that were different, but all in all, not that much dissimilar when you talk about just you know, everyday people just trying to provide and have better for themselves and their families.
Yeah, but it's cold here. You know, you come
Yes,
down from
snow.
California.
Yeah, snow.
You know, you
That's
probably
true.
hadn't been around too much snow before you got here.
No snow.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah, well, I got a question for you. You already kind of touched on it. It was
Yes,
about
sir.
taxes.
Yes, sir.
What can we do, or is the residents to kind of, what makes the taxes spike up on us so high?
Well, what's been happening is the assessor will come out and just basically take an evaluation of your property. Let's say you own a house. He'll do an assessment based on a formula that he uses, and then what that does is he'll say your property is worth more based on the overall property that exists in the county. A lot of what causes the property values to increase is the development. So as you see more development, especially out in the western portion of our town, a lot of warehouses, Village West, a lot of those other amenities, and brick and mortar businesses out there, it causes the property values of everybody living in Wyandotte County to go up. And then what happens is when your property values go up, your property's worth more.
Yes.
And so then that allows a unified government to be able to tax you more on your property because it's worth more. That's what caused a lot of the valuations. I talked briefly about how that can be balanced, and it's called revenue neutral. And what that basically means is no matter how much your property value goes up, the unified government is going to lower the mill levy or adjust that tax rate in a way to where we bring in the same amount of dollars we did the previous budget, so we don't bring in those additional tax dollars that the residents or the property owners would otherwise see. Now people say, well, costs go up, you know, in government and as far as just the day-to-day of running the city. So how do you balance that? Well, you balance that by basically finding ways to operate your government more efficiently, more effectively, and holding the line on cost, and doing so in a way so it doesn't have an adverse negative impact on your city government, and you can do that responsibly. And so those are the things that I've been advocating for, just a government that provides better service but does so in a more efficient and effective way. And there's a lot of ways to do that. What has been occurring is
inflation going so high, does that hurt anything right now with all that? With that not going down, does that hurt with our taxes and all that?
Well, inflation hurts the taxpayers because everything costs more. And so if my view is, and the view of our team is, if you're gonna ask the taxpayers to tighten their belt and operate more fiscally responsible with their checkbooks, how much more should your government operate more fiscally responsible in how we do business day to day? We should be tightening our belts. We should be looking at ways to cut costs. We should look at technologies that exist or best practices. And to do that, you have to identify what are the most important things that residents want and that they need, and identify those essential services and really focus on those, and then look at everything else and say, okay, residents, taxpayers, okay, maybe you wanted this over here, but okay, for a year or two until the economy improves or until our fiscal position, health improves, Is this something you can live without, or can you live with less of this? You see what I'm saying? And
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Like that, but as far as Wyandotte County, what is the main thing that we're wanting improvement on that you're hearing about?
when I ran, and even now, it didn't matter. All four corners of Wyandotte County, including Bonner Springs and Edwardsville, it hasn't changed. It doesn't matter what demographic group. Everybody wanted their taxes reduced, and they wanted something done with the BPU pilot. And those two things hurt poor people, people that are seniors on fixed incomes. It hurts them the most. And so those are the two things that people in Wyandotte County said, Mayor, if you can do anything to at least affect some type of change in those regards, please work hard on that. And that's what our team is really working hard on. And then you get into all the soft things, rec centers for our seniors and our kids, programs for our kids, infrastructure. When you talk about our streets, roads, sidewalks, and bridges that appear to be just, you come into Wyandotte County and you just got to dodge potholes if you roll in on 22s, you know what I'm saying? It's just so how do you balance all that? And so those are the things that we're looking at, and that's why I was talking about priorities. What should the priorities be? Then you talk about public safety. I'm not, just because of my background, I just believe that you have to have public safety. You got to have law enforcement that is willing to work with the community policing, and law enforcement that looks like the community that it serves. I'm really big on diversity. People that are going to have a cultural connection to the community they serve, and then you have to support that law enforcement to help keep the community safe, because crime and violence hurts all of us, especially communities of color. And when you have a diverse police force, what you'll see is people that have that cultural understanding, and they'll have that bridge of trust. Not always, but in most cases, it provides an enhanced opportunity for the community to have a willingness to want to work with the police to fight and solve crime. And fire department is there as well. You've got all public safety, ambulance service. If you don't have a safe community, it doesn't matter who you are. When you pick up the phone and you dial 911 because somebody's shooting or breaking in your house, and the police don't get there till the next day, then you call for an ambulance because your loved one is in critical needs critical care, and they take forever getting there. Or you need fire service. And if you're paying high taxes for these services and you're not getting the quality of services that you deserve, what are most people going to do? They're going to take their spot and move it up out the dot. That's what they're going to do, and they're going to take their tax dollars with them. So I think you got to have a safe community when you talk about public safety, and then you got to really focus on the things that are important to our residents, which are taxes, fees, just fees for everything, to rent out rec centers, parks, things of that nature. I think the unified government nickels and dimes our residents too much. I always question why we build a rec center or we build a park on the front end with taxpayers' dollars, but then we're going to charge our taxpayers to use the very facilities that they funded to build for their usage. I think there's a lot of areas that we just need to do a better job on working on, and I think these things can be done responsibly if you have the right leadership and the right vision of staff that are really committed to Wyandotte County to bring those things about.
I want to go back to something real quick, and this is probably like 80 to 85% of Wyandotte County. They want to know where we're at with the BPU pilot situation, because that's hurting a lot of families. Because when families are poor and they're struggling, that increases crime and stuff. Because people are like, oh, I got to go out and do what I got to do to protect my family, or I ain't got no money to pay this bill. So they start to think, you know how it is, like, hey, I got to get it how I get it. You know what I'm saying? So with taxes going up, we're already in inflation, recession, and that causes, to me, more crime too. And that's a problem in Wyandotte County right now that I think that really needs to be addressed. What can we do to make sure that, like you said, the taxes stay where people can afford things and they're not going up, create more jobs for people, because a lot of people are hurting in Wyandotte County. I've been here my whole life, and there's a lot of people hurting, and there's a lot of people that I know that complains about the BPU, and that, like you said, all four corners was one of the main things that people are really upset about BPU, because a lot of people feel like BPU does it, and they can do that because there's no competition here. You see what I'm saying? There's no other company, so they just do what they want to do, because where we gonna go? If you're here, you need it.
Well, the unified government owns the Board of Public Utilities, BPU. The unified government, because our government owns it, they pretty much mandate for the BPU to put the payment in lieu of taxes or the pilot on your BPU bill. That's equivalent to any other utility as a franchise fee. You'll see that on an Evergy bill or something like that. The difference is BPU's pilot is 11.9%. The average nationally for any other utility franchise fee or the equivalent of a pilot is anywhere between 6%. So you see how we fit into that dynamic. We're way above what is the norm. One thing that our team has done is we came up with a solution to try and at least leverage the commissioners. Again, I don't vote, but try and encourage and leverage the commissioners, give them opportunity to lower the pilot. The BPU gets blamed for the pilot a lot. They have no control of it. It is strictly the unified government's purview. And so what we've done is I've been trying to push forward an initiative that would basically break the pilot up between residential and business. Business makes up over 70% of people that are the individuals that contribute to the pilot. So that means less than 70% are residentials. Who's complaining the most? Is our residentials. And who complains even more than them? Our impoverished population. You see what I'm saying? So the proposal that I gave to the commission, well, let's split it up, so the pilot up, so you have an option to lower the residential separate from the business, as opposed to doing it all at once. And then it gives you that option. If you want to lower the business, fine. If you want to lower the residential, fine. But at least you have the ability to lower the residential in a responsible way, because that's the area that brings in the least amount of revenue anyway. And so I brought that proposal forward, and it was rejected, and it was pushed down the road. And so what I'm trying to get across is that voting matters.
Yes, it does. It does.
You have got to vote, and that's when I said I can't do this by myself. Really, the community needs to realize and pay attention. I encourage everybody to watch these, either come to these commission meetings, watch these commission meetings on UGTV, or you go back on YouTube and watch them, pull up UGTV, and really look at these individuals that are making decisions. If they do not reflect your values, then you need to start identifying people in these election cycles that reflect your values. Popularity and that's who so-and-so knows should not be a predicate for who you vote for. Vote for the people that are gonna move the things that are gonna make life better for you and your family, people that reflect your values. Because part of the challenge and the battle that I have as a mayor, and our team has, and a lot of people that have supported me, is that we're pushing these things forward based on what the people said they wanted. And you've got elected officials, a lot of my colleagues, that are just rejecting the calls from our commission, from the community and from your mayor's office to say, here's a different way we can do this. We need to start listening to the people. What really stood out was not this last Monday, but the Monday before at the commission meeting, when we had residents come up after resident come up and say, please lower my taxes, I'm gonna lose my house, I'm gonna fix it, I can't afford this. Not only did they vote to increase the taxes, I vetoed that tax increase. They overrode my veto outside of Commissioner Stites and Commissioner Burrows. Those are the things that people need to start paying attention to. Now, if you find with your taxes being raised, let your vote reflect that. But if you're not happy with that, then you need to pay attention to these people that aren't listening to your voice, and really pay attention to that at the polls the next time you vote. And so I can say that your mayor's office is carrying a lot of the ideas and suggestions that the community has brought forward. But it is a challenge, and that's why I say I can't do this by myself. The community's gonna have to come up and really speak to what they want. I allow every month an open input session to where the community can come. I give them 2 to 3 minutes where they can talk about any item of a unified government interest. Doesn't matter what it is. So, and you can speak to your commissioners, your staff. It's recorded on what your issues are. All I ask is that if you do have a problem, come with us with 1 or 2 solutions on what you want to see and how we can correct it. But these are challenges, but I believe that if we continue to come together as a community and work, that we can have the change that this community not just wants to see, but they deserve to see.
Yeah.
And not just, especially in the areas that have been disinvested and disenfranchised, which are the areas east of 635, or we've identified 55th Street.
Yes.
When you talk about food deserts, lack of programs, weeds as tall as trees growing up, and when you talk about all these things that historically have gone on, and the investment and the disenfranchisement, it's a problem for me, because I look at it as being economic segregation, and that economic segregation has adversely impacted poor people and people of color more than any other people in Wyandotte County. And so those are the types of things we got to address and bring equity in good services and resources to Wyandotte County, because everybody that wants an opportunity for success, to have a neighborhood, to have a grocery store to go to have a nice park for their kids to play in, to have streets that are well kept and maintained, should have that opportunity, especially if they're paying just as much, if not more, taxes as other parts of our community. And so that's going to continue to be the fight for this mayor's office.
I have a quick two-part question for you right here. This is about the school districts around here. I see the Shawnee Mission and Smithville both spent millions recently on their workout facilities. My next question is, how does Wyandotte County determine where the funding goes into as far as the schools around here, and what is our budget for it? Do we have any millions like they have to build these kind of workout facilities, and what is our budget and what does it go to?
Well, the unified government is separate from the school districts. There's 4 school districts in Wyandotte County: Bonner Springs, Piper, Edwardsville, Turner, and USD 500, which is Kansas City, Kansas. And they each have their own boards with their own superintendents, with their own budgets, with their own taxing authority. And so I'll let my education liaison talk more to that. And just so you know, he was, Mr. Rios was a principal at J.C. Harmon, Argentine, and he retired as a deputy superintendent with USD 500, and he was also the board chair for the Kansas City Kansas Community College. So he comes well knowledgeable and with a wealth of expertise in that area. So I'll let him talk.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that we are looking at as a unified government is collaborating with the school systems and potentially looking at how we can have more youth programming. If we, what do they say? Idle hands are the devil's tools, right? And so if we kept them active, then they don't have time to be considering, well, hey, I got to do something, right? And it's something that I think that is important when we talk about the school systems and our government working collaboratively toward engaging our young people in activities. It's not just like sports related. For an example, we have a youth liaison, and the two of us are working on some initiatives for our young people. And yes, there'll be a basketball shootout that we'd like to have around June of 2023. But we also want to have a debate.
Yes, that would be
You
nice.
see? And we want to have a STEM program. So we will connect with the community college with the STEM. We will connect right here with City Hall with the debate.
Do we get a budget?
We'll sponsor that within the commission chambers. You see? Then we'll use Memorial Hall as our venue for the basketball shootout, so that it can be free for the community to see. And the perspective that I bring to the mayor is people are upset about their taxes because they don't see that they're getting the value for what they're paying for.
Well, we see the Sligo got a new football field.
They got a new
that was
sure.
great.
There's a lot of new facilities for USD 500, and the bond passed in Piper, passed in Turner. People are not, and and some of those they had raised their taxes on. Now, it wasn't a tax increase for the UST one, but for Piper and Turner, there was a slight increase. Now, why did people vote for it? They voted for that because it's tangible. They see the end product, and they know that an investment in our young people is going to pay off in the long run.
Yes.
And how do we keep our young people? Well, you have to invest in them.
Yeah.
And so if the community sees their tax dollars as an investment, they don't get worked up about it. You see? But what has happened is we have not been efficient or effective with the usage of our tax dollars. And what we need to do, and what the mayor is talking about, is becoming more efficient and effective with the tax dollars. And if we do, because all of the things that are being requested through youth programming, senior programming, well, all of those things cost money. Where does the government get its money from? It gets it from taxes. It's just the truth. So people have asked for a reduction in taxes, and yet they want more services. Well, it's like, some people would say that's counterintuitive. But you have to have the basic principle of business, and that is maximum efficiency for sustainable effectiveness. Basic E&E. And so what you do is, okay, what services are the priority, and we are going to have world-class priority services. That's where the money will go. That's where the people want it to go. And you want to grow your community, you have to have amenities. They're not just going to come here to come. You have to have parks, entertainment sections of your community. All of those are important. And so how do you bring those about? And so again, the mayor has a rational suggestion. He puts things out there and then say, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be that, but let's do something. Let's just not just say no, right? So that with his pilot proposal, he said, okay, I'm not going to say how many, what percentage to lower and that, but let's just divide it out, residential and business. Let's start, that's a starting point. Right? Then let's talk about how we can reduce that, because that impacts everyone from your homeowner to your renter. Everybody is by the pilot. Property taxes, now you got to be an owner. You got to own something, right? So what would be the most rational to impact all of your citizens? Well, it would be the pilot. So we got to talk sensibly and that, and you don't want to pit educational interest and your governmental interests. We should be working together. Because an educated population is going to be a population that can sustain itself. It's when you lack that education that you're going to have a problem. And so I think that the school systems, we have a Wyandotte Education Coalition, superintendents, the community college, and Donley College are a part of. They're very excited about working together as educational entities along with the unified government. And I think that, that positiveness, there's so much negativity out here. With all of the, what's going on with the economy and, turf protectors or something. I don't know what their motivation is necessarily. But if we could just sit down and have sensible conversations about these new youth initiatives, getting our youth more engaged. We want to have a youth council. That's actually part of the charter. It's in there that we're supposed to, but where's the outcry that we haven't obeyed that part of the charter for all these years? The mayor wants to do that, but we're waiting on folks to come to an accord
Yeah.
on how we're going to go about that. But we need the youth's voice.
How do we go about giving that to you?
Well, what we would like to do with this council is to have them function similarly to the commission, so that they would actually get input in issues that the commission is discussing, and they will
So
provide.
show up at these meetings, basically, is what we're coming down to?
Right,
Okay.
right. So they have voice, but then also being able to say, well, what's important to them?
Yeah.
And what are their ideas to address the issues that are important to
Yeah.
them? That's
My
very
last
Because
question, how
you-
does the youth know when these meetings happen so we can
Well-
appear there?
Well, the youth council, what Liaison Rios is talking about, that was part of it. We're working through the bureaucracy of our government now, as with several other things that I've hit on, to try and get what's in our charter, which is basically our constitution or our law for the unified government, move forward, because I would like that youth council. But not just our youth, to answer your question directly. I encourage everyone, if you don't know what your unified government is doing, please, I encourage you to get involved, get educated on who these people are that are making decisions for you, because they should be making decisions with you. If you don't know who your commissioner is and you don't know how to get a hold of them, that's not so much your fault.
Yeah.
That's the fault of these people that you put in these offices, because they should be just as community driven as our team is.
Yeah.
I try, my staff tries to make ourselves very accessible to people in this community, unlike probably any other mayor that you've probably seen before. And that's intentional, and that's with purpose, because it's not so much what I want, but it should be community driven about what the people want. So come to these commission meetings. Go online if you don't have time to come. They're on Thursdays at 7 o'clock. There's standing committee meetings on Mondays.
Every week?
Every other week. And you can go on the UG's website to the clerk's page on the website. It'll give you the list of all the meeting dates, times. Most of the locations are here at the Unified Government City Hall. It's really important because if you talk, one of you asked the question, well, what about taxes? It keeps going up. It keeps going up because the leadership that has been in place historically over time has kept raising taxes.
Yeah.
And if people don't speak up, and if people don't vote people in these positions that don't reflect their values, you can't expect change with the same people. You know what I'm saying? You can't have the same stuff and expect a different result.
Yeah.
And that's just what it has to be. So people really need to start paying attention. And our team is really trying to make people more aware and become more educated about not just what goes on, but how the government works. A lot of people think I'm like the New York or the Atlanta mayor. I can just, and when they find out, okay, our mayor doesn't have that much ability,
Yeah.
they get more resolute to say, okay, we've got to get involved now, because this mayoral team, they need our help.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I think a lot of times, we always stop, in our community, we got to vote president, but they don't understand that
Starts with
in your community, your local elections is the most important elections, because this is where you live.
Right.
And I also think that people of Wyandotte County actually do want change, because that's why we voted you here. So I just think we can't just vote you in and then expect you to wave a magic wand and fix everything. The people that voted you in now, we got to get together and help.
Right.
And I think that's where we got to take it to another level. Also with the youth program too, we do need a lot of more youth programs, because growing up, playing in night hoops and all that stuff, we had to go way over to Missouri. I just seen the night hoops a couple weeks ago, where we had teams going over there playing in night hoops over there, because we didn't have anything going over here. So a lot of our teams are packing up and going over there, and they don't really want to go over there, but they have to go over there because we don't have like night hoop programs to keep kids off the street. And it's not just sports too. The mayor talked about the STEM too. Another big thing that I think that we need in our community is financial literacy, because that's what hurts our youth right now, because growing up, we didn't know anything about financial literacy. We didn't know anything about developing credit. We didn't even know, anything about building and, stock market, that kind of stuff, or just stuff, we get credit cards and just max them out, not knowing that I'm gonna need a credit to get a car, I'm gonna need a credit to buy a home. That's not really taught in our community. our community's kind of taught, okay, graduate and go to work, or just go to college and get in debt and student loans. But we're not taught early in the community how to invest. You know, I think financial literacy is a big part of what lacks early in our education in our city right now. It's just not taught enough. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I wasn't taught anything about financial literacy in high school or middle school or anything. I didn't know anything about building credit or nothing. And I talked to a lot of people about that. Chris Dunlap, for one, who's really doing a lot of stuff with financial literacy now too. And he talked about trying to get it in the school system. So I think that's a big part of what, because you know, we can talk about sports and stuff, but we got to educate the kids too, far as in this classroom too, because they got to still have the grades to get to college if they do play sports. You know what I'm saying? So you can play sports, but if you're not making the grades, you're not going to go to college. So we got to put the education in first and then sport. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel.
I think along that lines, I think what's left out of that education equation is, for years we've always said go to college, go get a 4-year degree. Well, that might not be for everybody.
Yeah.
True.
But you are going to need an education, and so look at some of these tech school programs that allow you to have a trade. I think what we really need to instill in our kids is, what are you good at and what do you enjoy? Because if you enjoy doing something and you really do it, and you're successful at it, it's not really work, because that's what you enjoy doing. And I think, especially for our minority community, we don't encourage our young people to really delve into entrepreneurship. A lot of what we do is we're working for other people or we're consumers. I think we really need to encourage our young people to be the visionaries, to get back to the days where we were a community, especially when you talk about black and brown folks. To where we had our own self-sustained communities. Look at what happened with the Black Wall Street, where we had our own community and we weren't consumers. We had our doctors, our engineers, our lawyers, you know what I'm saying? A self-sustained community. And if we take that to a broader mindset, we really need to encourage our kids, start you a small business, become that CEO. You see what I'm saying? Create that product and become a producer, as opposed to always thinking you have to work for someone. Become that business owner and become that producer of goods and services and resources, because that's how you can build not just wealth for yourself, but you can build generational wealth for you and for your generations to come.
Well, that's the key here when we're talking about one of the initiatives and being STEAM. We added the A, the arts. You see, you have to have again, it's about balance. It's not enough just to be in the books. You have to be able to apply what you're learning. And you can actually apply that through the arts, sports. It's all together. So we don't want, what happened in some of the school systems is that there was such pressure about academic that they started decreasing the support of sports and our school systems. And the impact has been then that they go to other communities to participate in all of the different athletic outlets that they have surrounding our community. And so we have to, again, look at investing it back into our facilities, not only within the school system, but even look at our community centers. You look at our community centers versus other community centers in the surrounding areas. I mean, you put a gym floor and a little room to call it a community room, and you got a community center. Well, that's not a community center.
That's another thing I wanted to touch on too, because coaching AAU, you go out of town and I see all these sports complexes and stuff and this, and then you look back, okay, what do we have? JFK, that didn't, like, those places that they haven't even been renovated. You know, they look the same as when I was in school, and I graduated in 1996. What are we doing to renovate that down there? You know what I mean? To upgrade.
They haven't changed since I graduated. Yeah. This is I graduated before you did.
Yeah. So, you know, you look at, and another thing too is, you know, people look around Wyandotte County and be like, okay, got a lot of soccer fields. Okay, that's cool, but we don't have a lot of places where kids can go play basketball. We don't have our community to me, hasn't even put enough stock into. People say, okay,
Baseball.
black kids don't want to play baseball. They do. They'll play baseball if they have a place to play baseball at. We got one field over there. It was 3 and 2. It's got 2 places where it could be 2 fields, but only one's up and running. How can we get that going? Because I feel that black kids will play baseball, or people, black and brown kids, but where do they play it at? Where is it a place to play it at? They gotta have somewhere to play it.
I think I've acknowledged that. Part of the problem with the unified government is the lack, in my opinion, is the lack of having a diverse workforce. Especially when you talk about people that are in the decision-making positions, which predominantly middle management and above. You have a large percentage of people of the actual decision makers who don't look like this community, but they're making decisions for this community. There's no cultural connection there that really incentivizes them to go out and talk to people that are different. What I would like to see is before we build any park, before we upgrade any type of facility at a rec center or a park facility, staff should be going out and talking to those neighborhood groups and talking to the people in the neighborhood. Do you want a foosball, soccer ball, baseball, football, or basketball court? Really, our neighborhood rec centers and our facilities within our neighborhood should really reflect what the overall vision of that neighborhood is. And unfortunately, we do still have predominantly diverse neighborhoods, but they might have a majority of a certain demographic. We know that my kids of color, black kids, we like basketball, we like football, we will play baseball. Okay, if we're gonna have something for our kids to do, let's put things in that neighborhood where we know there's a high density and concentration of African American kids. Let's put some things in there so they can utilize. Not only will it keep them off the streets, it prevents crime, it gives them something to do, it builds a level of community and camaraderie. You see what I'm saying? And it provides an outlet for our kids. Right now, there's nothing. And so I brought that forward, is that we need to do a better job of gauging what our community wants for these facilities. Now, one of the things that we brought forward.
I want to just real quick though, to point out soccer for the Hispanic community, right? And we have a World Cup coming here to our metropolitan area in 4 years. So we should be a part of it. But what do? We partner with our professional soccer team. They go and they put some very nice facility, mostly used by Johnson County. Because they didn't put it in the Hispanic community. They didn't put it in the black community.
No.
So who's going to use it? All right. So, and then they ran it. Well, of course, they're out of county, so I'm all for them. They can afford it. But it's got to be about that we put these amenities where our young people live and will utilize them. And again, it's all connected. If they are a healthier individual, then they're able to learn more in the classroom, exercise that learning to be entrepreneurs or whatever it is they want to be. Our responsibility is to prepare the young people for lifelong learning, however they look at that. But I that's one thing that I have to say, and that's just the educator in me, so I have to say, I don't believe in this mantra about, well, not everybody's cut out for college. If you want to be a plumber, electrician, guess where you're going to have to go? You go to the tech center, which is part of what? The college system. The days of AVTS, when it was part of K-12, are gone. They're bygone days because of the technology and that they have come into all of these other fields. To be an auto mechanic now, hybrid technology and all that, it isn't the same as when my uncles and stuff, had a little garage.
When Uncle Chester was working on your car.
Make some money fixing a car. And those are bygone days. Now you got to have some technology in order to work on these. That's why the production of automobiles, these little chips, causes a lot of this economic chaos that we have right now. And so we have to prepare the young people for lifelong learning. That's how I phrase it. What that means, if they choose to be entrepreneurs, where they would choose to go to 2-year college, 4-year college, the trades, but it's all about that we prepare them and understanding that that preparation just isn't about being in a school classroom.
Yes.
It is about the life experience and how they exercise. What I used to say as a principal, we have to exercise the mind and the body of our students. Not enough just to do the mind.
Yeah.
If they don't have a healthy body, guess what? The mind doesn't function so good.
Yeah.
So you have to have both in unison. And that goes right back to what our mayor has been advocating for at the start of his administration, is that we have to have this balance of giving the amenities out there that people are in fact paying for. And yet we got to be sensible about how we do incentives for businesses and developers and that, because we got to expand our tax base. If we don't expand our tax base, it's going to be very difficult to continue to fulfill the promise of lowering your taxes. Right? We have to have, and it isn't just about needing to, I don't like this thing about, oh, it's got all this affordable housing, whatever that's supposed to mean. We want housing for anyone and everyone who wants to live in Wyandotte County. Right? And that means if we want a $500,000 home or we want a $200,000 home, we need both. And they don't need to be theirs where this $500,000 home and this $200,000. They should be neighbors.
Yeah.
That's how you grow a community. That's what I'm talking about, how education, that's how government and the school systems and the colleges can work together.
Yeah.
It's how we build our neighborhoods, how we bring in our businesses that will support, that will pay for education of their employees.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that we can request, so that if, okay, we give a business an incentive to come in here, but guess what? They're going to invest back into the community, so that we actually get it back.
Yes.
See, and those are tangible, and I don't think that the citizens will be upset once they see that is real.
Yeah.
But right now, see, we're struggling
Yeah.
with some old mindsets, and people, you got to be willing to take a risk. But if you take the risk, the payoff can be so tremendous.
Yeah.
Well, Tyrone, we want to thank you for your
Oh,
time.
I got
today.
one more.
Got
Got a couple more. I wanted to go back to
You know
what-
you have to leave in a minute.
Yeah. I just looked at the time. You said a healthy mind for kids too, and that goes back from me coaching the district too. Some of those kids, when they leave school, they go through a lot at home. Some of them might have to go home and take care of their brothers and sisters. Mamas might work in 3 jobs so she can just take care. So they have to go home and be a brother, a sister, a wife, a husband, and raise their brothers and sisters. So, and then turn around and get up and go back to school in the morning. So that's a lot.
Yes.
Well, and a lot of these kids around here are dealing with that, in this district too. So, like you said, having a healthy mind is very important, because a lot of these kids go home and have to be a grown up when they get home, and that's because mom and daddies are working because they have to, provide for their family. So these kids in this community are asked to grow up fast a lot of times, so.
Yes, and so our educators in that classroom have to have an understanding of that. But when over 80% of them don't live in your community, they can't relate.
Yeah.
And that's because then you get some disruptive behaviors. And there you go. So then what's your solution? Is it to kick this kid out of the school?
Yeah.
Or is it, okay, we have to have wraparound services? And if we have, and that again is where government can be of assistance. When I was principal of Argentine Middle School, we had a schooling clinic, of which the UG partnered with us. So we had a nurse practitioner, we had a social worker, we actually had a dentist. And they provided services and that. Well, people say, well, Mr. Rios, how did your school meet the standard of excellence? Well, sure, we had the same curriculum as every other school. Teachers go to the same colleges, get the same instructional college, I credit the wraparound services. I credit that the community rallied around our young people and said, our young people can achieve. And they did. And it's possible.
It is.
And it can happen, but we have to work together. If you don't, we don't do this together. If you say, oh, government over here, districts are over here, college over here, business over there, this is, if you're satisfied with how the community is, and this is how it is. What the mayor is doing is calling for everybody to come together, come to the table. Let's have these hard conversations where you might have to let go of something, or you might have to take on something extra. But it's all for the good of the community, and once the good of the community is served, guess what? Then these conversations are going to be entirely different. Mr. Murray's job is going to be a lot easier in attracting businesses and development than, well, let me see what we can work out, and then, the struggles of having to talk to all the different, well, it'll be people wanting to come here. He's going to be saying, instead of him having to go knock on a door, they're knocking on his door.
Well, I think to tie in with, the education liaison could instruct us all day. Because that's education. But how does that bridge? I've always said, people have heard me say, the first step to hope, the second step to opportunity, the third step to improve destiny. It does. It starts with education. Studies have shown that an educated community provides for a more successful and vibrant community when the people that live there are educated. And so focusing on our kids, and when I say invest in the disinvested, people have always heard, it's not just about brick and mortar, it's also people too. And that's where that comes in. And how that bridges in. When you talk about how do you create a more vibrant and resurgent Wyandotte County and City, Kansas, yes, we have to expand our tax base. But how are people going to want to move to Wyandotte County when taxes are high, the BPU is high? This is not an attractive place to live when you look at the streets, the roads, the sidewalks, the level of services you get as far as amenities. What are your rec center? What programs are for your kids? There's not much here to offer. You've got to do those things on the front end. It's kind of like rebuilding a struggling football team. You kind of got to clean house, bring some new people in, and rebuild from there. So I think that's where Wyandotte County really is right now. We're at that crossroads. But we also have a vision. We know we have to increase our tax base to bring in those additional tax dollars. So part of the vision is lower taxes, lower BPU, but then also attract new businesses and entrepreneurs to Wyandotte County, provide the goods, services, resources, and the jobs that people need to really curtail generational poverty and allow for people to build generational wealth. Education is that, because you got to have a trained, educated workforce to be able to go into these types of jobs. And so Lavert Murray's here, and Lavert Murray is really identifying development. We need affordable housing, and housing that is available, like Mr. Rio said, at all income levels. Bring those types of housing stock and opportunities in, as well as brick and mortar businesses that can expand our tax base here in Wyandotte County, so we can have those additional tax dollars to do the types of things that our residents deserve. And so, Mr. Murray, I don't want to leave you out. If you could just talk about how economic development could really play into really getting us to where Wyandotte County needs to be.
Is it possible to do that right now with the way inflation is and the way the cost of everything is going up as far as building and all that? Is it possible to still have affordable housing and all that?
And you missed one, the pandemic.
Yes.
You
that
still
too.
have to do this in light of the pandemic. And so, but the answer is yes. I mean, because we must. I mean, the economy in the city has been stagnant way too long. People now, I think, have hope, and they can see light at the end of the tunnel and can see businesses are moving in. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but what are people, particularly on the eastern end of our community, they look out west, they look to the south, and they see Johnson County. Even north, you see Platte County, Clay County growing. And yet, within Wyandotte County, you still have patterns of disinvestment and out-migration. And so that is changing, and it started with, if you will, Village West. I mean, we've met with great success in the Village West area. Businesses are coming in, We're growing those businesses, and things are creeping a bit further east now. And so we're taking advantage of the fact that you have to the east, you have Casey Mo. Look at our downtown, for example. We're closer to Casey Mo's Power and Light District than the plaza is. And so our businesses are wanting to locate here to take advantage of that. It's a locational advantage.
With
in
that being
Casey.
said, it seems the people that was down on the lower ends are starting to kind of get pushed out, and more different people are coming down there right now.
No, I disagree. I mean, they're not being pushed out. If you look at the areas where there's been historically or out migration, those areas are still vacant. So how can you say they're being pushed out and there's no one there? And so it's room for others to come in. And it's not that we're gentrifying the area, because we're not. The area is unoccupied. And so I think a number of our growing businesses within our business community, they realize that. They're willing to take the risk, take on that investment, and make our community grow. We've got to get our residents to the point where they will remain there and continue to show interest. And that's why earlier someone mentioned affordable housing. I mean, we are building affordable housing in all sectors of our community to keep our residents in place, if you will. I mean, if they want to live in a certain area, we'll have the housing stock for them to live there. And that's what part of my task, part of my job is to do. Make sure we take advantage of the interest coming in and build within a community where there's been significant disinvestment.
Because we want to anchor people right here in Wyandotte County. We don't want people to leave. But people deserve the good services and resources and job opportunities that they see in Johnson County, out western Wyandotte County. If you notice, Kansas City, Missouri is building up. They're landlocked. They're building up north. Wyandotte County is well positioned to become a resurgent community. And we want the people that have historically been here to remain here. We want to do what we can to remain the cultural integrity of our neighborhoods. Because as we know, there's a lot of generation of folks that grew up here in Wyandotte County, Kansas City. People are calling me and saying, Mayor Garner, if you can bring some housing and some goods and services, I'll move my family back. Because that's where I grew up. That's where my mama raised me. That's where my grandparents are from. We want to relocate. We want to be anchored in Wyandotte County. So those opportunities are there.
Well,
So
don't forget to point out, Mayor, look, Vert, in this month, brought some
Yes.
developers
yes,
to our commission,
he did.
who, most of them, Wyandotte County raised, with financial means, so that entrepreneurship that
Yes.
he was talking about,
Yes.
being educated. And guess what? They kind of look like us.
Yeah.
They didn't look differently. And so that is very significant.
Yes.
The key then for your audience is to ask, well okay, all these developers came in with concepts. Again, these are suggestions, you know. Well, are we continuing the dialogue? Are we pursuing this kind of thing?
Don't want to cut you off. These developers came in not with concepts. They actually have plans and are ready to bring their developments out of the ground. Many of them came with the financing to make it happen. And so it's now a matter of following up. For example, out west you have a new project, Home Fields. And someone mentioned baseball, and we believe they'll bring some baseball interest back into the inner city. But some of our developments invest. For example, Hollywood Casino has a fund that you can make applications for grants every year, be that business or some other opportunity. Homefield, they're willing to partner with others. I'm not going to mention name, but their very first partnership will probably be with a young person that grew up here in Kansas City, Kansas, was an athlete,
Good, yes.
about your age.
All right.
And
Excited to
they're
hear that.
gonna partner with them to start a business that's gonna complement that. And so there will be others, but you've gotta start with the opportunity.
So what do they need from us to do then, as far as people in the community?
Again, it comes back to, like, I can't stress enough. Number one, people need to educate themselves on how their government works. Number two, show up to these meetings. I know we didn't hit on it. To hit on your question, the school district is separate from the unified government. Go to these school board meetings. Know what these individuals are doing when it comes to the education of your children. But then, getting back to the unified government, come to these commission meetings. But number two, if Tyrone Garner is a raggedy elected official, please vote me out of office.
I'll bring you in.
I don't care how much you like me, how great and wonderful person I am. Do not vote me off of everybody likes Tyrone. No, vote me out, because if I'm not doing the job that you sent me here to do, get me out of this position, because I'm not doing you or Wyandotte County any justice if I keep doing things that don't reflect the values of Wyandotte County. So when you say those are probably the biggest things people can do. And then I encourage a lot of our young folks, these elected positions, if you're an attorney, there's judge positions there for you. Run for those offices. If you want a commission seat, if you school board seats, BPU, those positions aren't just set aside for the powerful, privileged, or connected. Those are anybody that wants better for themselves or for Wyandotte County. I think one of the things that we hit on, Levert hit on, when we talked about his awesome, and I encourage people to go back and watch it on YouTube, to UGTV. But when he brought these developed, they had visions for all over east of 635, from Indian Springs going east. Majority happen to be black and brown individuals. And here's why that's so important to me, because these were individuals, if you talk to some of them, they said they will tell you they've never felt like they had an opportunity to have a seat at the table to even have a conversation, let alone be able to make a presentation on what their vision is to bring about change in the neighborhoods and the areas where they grew up. To me, that's a problem on the front end, but on the tail end, it leaves me optimistic that there is hope for Wyandotte County. We've got to make sure that our women, that our minorities, both black and brown, have not more, not special privileges, but just being given the same equal opportunity that everybody has within this unified government when you talk about procurements and opportunities that we know exist. Because again, I'll say it again, you should not have to be powerful, privileged, or connected to be able to have an opportunity to do business with the unified government or to be a part of this unified government. And that's one of the messages that we're trying to send to the staff and to this culture within this unified government. And I can tell you, and I don't want to sound negative on this end, but we've met a lot of resistance with that message. On the other end of that, we are just as resilient, poised, and on point with the message of change that this community put this team in place to do. And I don't care how much anybody doesn't like it, as long as this mayor team is here, we're going to continue fighting for what this people of Wyandotte County deserve. We've been met with a lot of resistance, a lot of spinning of things within this office, misinformation, disinformation, whatever you want to call it. It has not stopped this. And I don't care what people may think, they want to buy into the negativity. My thing is, and I've told my team, we're going to stay focused on what the people of Wyandotte County, they said they put us in this office to do. And that's to do our best and give 110% every day to improve the dynamic for Wyandotte County and move that community-driven agenda forward that people that voted for me wanted for me. And I tell people all the time, I may be in politics, but they got the wrong Tyrone, because I'm not a politician. I'm not here to play politics. I'm here to do the business of the people, period. And I'm not here to play games when it comes to people's lives, because I've sat in people's living room and had people literally break down and cry and tell me, Garner, please do something to help, put a team together, please help us. We have been locked out, shut out, ignored. Our voice means nothing in this establishment in Wyandotte County. We are sick and tired of it. We don't want to leave. We want to stay here because this is our home. But we want to be treated fairly and equitably like everybody else. And again, I'll say it again, you should not have to be privileged, powerful, or connected to have the same level of goods and services and attention. Your voice should matter and resonate just as loud as anybody else's. And those are the types of things that we want to bring. It's all about equity. It's not about giving anybody more, It's about making sure that the playing field is level and that everybody has a seat at the table and that everybody just ain't at the table, that everybody can eat and get full and know that they were part of something great in Wyandotte County moving forward. And so that's the vision we're going to keep moving forward. It's all about not just for the eastern portion, because I'm the mayor for everybody. That kind of gets misconstrued. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, Latino, gay, straight, whatever. I'm your mayor. But everybody needs to be treated equitably and fairly. We're focusing on the eastern portion, but we're not going to leave out the western portion. There's still great opportunities to continue to build out west in around Village West and in Piper, and there's opportunities in Bonner Springs and Edwardsville. But you got to look at the areas that have been disenfranchised and disinvested. You should not be able to go from one part of our city and it's an economic disaster and go to another part of our community and see success. That pits one part of our community against it. We are the smallest county in Wyandotte. When you come into Wyandotte, you should not see that much variance. We are small enough to where no matter where you go in Wyandotte, you should not have this extreme separation of disinvestment and disenfranchisement, especially in 2022.
Yeah.
And so the thing is we want to bring about the good services, resources, and opportunities so we are a unified, not just government, but a unified community that we call the dot. And I think those opportunities exist. And I want everybody to feel comfortable that they have a mayor, no matter what color, race, creed, background, religion that you come from. This mayor and this mayoral team is going to continue to fight for you and continue to push forward the agenda that the people of Wyandotte County put us in this office to do.
With that being said, we sure appreciate you.
Yes.
It's a privilege and an honor to sit with power leadership in Wyandotte County that looks like us.
Yes.
And I think that's the change that's going to turn this thing around. Because it's new leadership, it's people who want to get it done, who's not stuck in their old ways. So, with that being said, as a young black man who's been in this building a few times to pay some tickets downstairs, maybe on the 6th floor, pay some tickets. Second floor? It's an honor now to sit up here. It's an honor to sit up here now on the 9th floor and have a privilege to talk with you, Mayor. It really is.
Moving on up.
Moving on up. We're gonna continue to support you. Pray for you and your staff,
Yes.
and support you in whatever you need from us. We're there.
Can I say one last thing? I want people to know that this mayor's office is your mayor's office. Just like you brothers were able to come up here, anybody is more than welcome to come talk to anybody on this team, including myself. I don't want you thinking I'm here and I'm not accessible. If you need me out in the community beyond these four walls, please reach out. As my schedule allows, you can go on my Facebook. I try and be everywhere. I'm a set 24/7 mayor. And I don't have to say anything, but if you just need me there to support your family, your event, young people, whatever the case may be, or you do need me to speak, please reach out, because I actually enjoy being out in the community and really supporting good things and positive things in our community. Because if I'm asking people to support our team and our office and what we're trying to do, I want you to know that this team is willing, capable, and able, and we're going to support our community on the positive things that they're trying to do in Wyandotte County as well.
Yeah, I will say that because I can see you. I see you there. You go from one meeting to you're at the fair feeding the goats to you're in the garden, you're sipping tea, you're waving in the parade, all within the same day. So we definitely see you on the ground, and that's we want to thank you for it.
All right, thank you all. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. All right, God bless you.